into a deep thought. Have you ever read something and you thought to yourself, they couldn't be talking about me? They couldn't be talking about me. Better yet, they couldn't be talking about the women of DST. So I said, hold on. My friend, who's a member of another national Panhellenic Council sorority, walked in, and I told her to read up until the point that I had gotten up to. She read up until that point, she stopped. She looked at me and she said, he couldn't be talking about y'all. Not her own organization, but he couldn't be talking about the women of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. They must be exempt. She further explained all you all do for the community, not to mention the centennial you all just had, and not to mention the most powerful women in the world are members of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. He couldn't be talking about y'all. Her phone rang and she gestured to me that we talk later, and I couldn't help but continue to reflect a little more after she had left. Social aspect overshadowing service, and the most powerful people of color today aren't Greek. I mentally began to address the author's statements one at a time, the first statement being social aspect overshadowing service. He couldn't be talking about Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I know you're not talking about Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the only organization that can take over the capital of the United States 3 times in 1 year. The first time celebrating our Founders Day with 22 Impact Day community service projects to give back to the community of where we started. The second time retracing the footsteps of our founders for the reenactment of a women's suffrage march that we were barely allowed to participate in over 100 years ago. And the final time we returned with record-breaking numbers that not even the most popular political conventions could dare compete with, and not to mention putting over $80 million back into an economy within only 1 week of being there. Social aspect overshadowing service. I know you're not talking about Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, who on January 1st, 2013 made history as the first African-American women's organization and the first Black Greek letter organization to sponsor a float in the Rose Bowl Parade in Pasadena, California. A float that was themed transforming communities through sisterhood and service, that featured a sculpture globe highlighted with a floral tribute that emphasized Delta Sigma Theta's commitment to humanitarian efforts worldwide. A rotating hexagon with 6 magnificently detailed floral graphs took center stage and highlighted Delta's 5-point programmatic thrust, representing the cornerstone of the sorority's commitment to community outreach efforts. Social aspect overshadowing service. I know you're not talking about Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the only organization that can take a country who has suffered from devastation, starvation, and lack of education and build them a school in Charette, Haiti in honor of their sorority's founding principles of scholarship, sisterhood, and service. Social aspect overshadowing service. But let me hit a little bit closer to home. I know you're not talking about the charismatic and courageous central region of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, who in 2013 partnered with the American Heart Association and the Delta Education and Research Foundation for Project 13 in an effort to provide funding for research, cures, and treatments for heart disease, and means to create awareness and to provide funding for the furthering of the education of little Black girls and little Black boys. Social aspect overshadowing service. I know you're not talking about the charismatic and courageous central region of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, who has placed an emphasis on mobilizing, cultivating, and empowering our young men, women, adults, and communities across the 10 great states of Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Montana, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Wyoming, North and South Dakota, and the show me state of Missouri. Social aspect overshadowing service, you say? But let me just bring it on home for you. I know you're not talking about the St. Louis Metropolitan Alumnae chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, who has placed an emphasis on bridging the gap between collegiate and alumni sorors by mentoring young collegiate women to be the best women they can be. Social aspect overshadowing service. I know you're not talking about the St. Louis Metropolitan Alumnae chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the chapter who has stood in the forefront of the battlefields equipped with their 9 cardinal virtues, fighting wars of social injustice, poverty, lack of education, inequality, and fair and just treatment for those in the St. Louis metropolitan area. And for this, they were awarded the Central Region's highest honor, the Social Action Award, and being identified as the movers, the shakers, and the doers when it comes to social activism, social action, social aspect, overshadowing service. I know you're not talking about the St. Louis Metropolitan Alumnae chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the same chapter who has guided, motivated, and supported a 25-year-old graduate student from East St. Louis, Illinois, throughout her term as the 21st Central Regional Representative, and has given her a platform to tell the story, the Delta story, before you here today. Many wouldn't be so brave. Many wouldn't take the risk. Many wouldn't believe in such a young girl enough to give her this opportunity. So I know you're not talking about the St. Louis Metropolitan Alumnae chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Social aspect overshadowing service? I think not. The most interesting thing is that's only 1 year's worth of accomplishments. Not to mention we have 100 others that we can account for. But I can see how someone might mistake our social aspect overshadowing our demand for service, because we have fun at the games, the concerts, the luncheons, and the parties. But what we have not forgotten is where we came from, what we were founded upon, and what our purpose is. For we don't just fellowship, relax, and have fun. We hold true to Delta's founding principles. Not only have we celebrated throughout the past 101 years, but we have served throughout the past 101 years. So I don't know the author's definition of service, but I can stand here and you can sit there, and together we can plant our feet on this here solid ground and be firm in saying public service has always been, is, as of now, and forever will be the foundation and the guiding light of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So my response to the author's comment about social aspect overshadowing service, I say, we are not like the others. We're different. We set the precedent for others to follow. Please don't include us with the rest, and when you come for us, please come correct. When talking about the glorious, the great, the invincible, the inspiring, the strong and enduring, steadfast, mighty, and immortal Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Good evening.